Ministering Angels by Lori A. Thompson. Chapter 35, Influence. Brad and Joe are standing by the writing wall discussing the challenges of the day, waiting for Andrew to return with Nathan. Brad has sent for him. Nathan's absence is magnified by the conclusion of this evening's feast. Brad, Andrew returns to his leader with an anxious demeanor that draws more attention than the respectful address of his name. Come. Brad and Joe follow Andrew to Nathan's room, where he lies curled up with his hand clutching his forehead. Brad sits down on the bed next to Nathan and gently moves him next to his shoulder so Brad can get a better look at his face. "What's wrong, Nathan?" asked Brad, concerned. "I woke with my head hurting. As the day went on, it just got worse and worse," Nathan explains. "Go, get Jacob," Brad orders, looking at Andrew. "The healer will be here soon," Brad states to Nathan, trying to comfort him. Brad stands and speaks out loud as he leaves the room. "We will just have to continue without him. Let's go." Once the room empties, dark moths release their hold from the walls of Nathan's room. One by one, their tiny bodies transform into beautiful butterflies of light. The group ascends up and out the top of the cave. Their tantalizing light formation maintains flight just inches above the landscape of the island. The predetermined destination can be reached, but not without a curious exploration of the tortured island's terrain. The group descends down upon the rocks that had been placed in a circle around the fire pit at the forgotten area. As each butterfly settles on their independent rock, their form changes once more. Now sitting in a circle are 5 boys. These boys do not have the same life on the island as the others. These boys are unseen influences that move about the island. They have no control over the environment for which they linger. Their only access to create change is through the other boys on the island. All of their efforts are placed on learning how to manipulate and persuade the others. A boy reaches out his hand into the center of the circle and places an illusory fire before them. One leads the group with a deep, penetrating tone, which the other boys match in intensity. Their bodies begin to sway in sync in a forward and back motion. Brad sees Nathan walking over to rejoin the group. Brad runs over to Nathan, meeting him halfway. Brad wraps his arm around his shoulder and lifts him a bit as they both walk together toward the fire. "Join us, Nathan. Here, sit next to me." Brad guides Nathan to the front of the group. Brad begins addressing the group, and as he does, the boys on the outskirts begin to gather in to listen. He tells a story about their ocean travels. He tells of the new island and of all its abundance. Then his tone changes as he approaches the topic of fear of the unknown. Nathan loves to hear Brad speak and focuses intently on his every word. Nathan is anxious to hear about those that will soon join them on the new island. When Brad begins addressing the idea of change and the challenges that revolve around fear, Nathan is sure that now is the moment Brad will disclose his plans. Nathan grabs his head in response to the piercing pain that shoots through his head. Brad pauses when he catches Nathan's body movement out of the corner of his eye. Nathan has leaned over, cupping his head in his hands. The surge of pain ends quickly, which allows Nathan to sit back up straight. Brad begins to speak again. Nathan buckles again. This time the pain stays with him longer, forcing Nathan to curl over his knees. He holds his head and wishes for it to be gone. Brad continues to direct the boys' attention by feeding them more information about the planned events for saving a group of people and bringing them to the island. Brad can see that Nathan is suffering, so he motions to Joe to take care of the situation. The boys begin to grumble among themselves. They question this new idea of other people and wonder how they're to help them when they are already concerned about sustaining themselves. A few even bark out questions up and above all the independent conversation. Brad answers calmly, content with the group's topic and undeterred by Nathan's torment. One boy stands up, obviously upset with the discussion. He pushes on the boy's shoulder next to him, aggressively assisting himself to the leverage he needs. The commotion draws Brad's attention, along with many of the other boys. While the boy belts out his concern, Brad notices the boy sitting next to him. It is Cameron, unaffected by the ruckus. At first glance, Cameron looks like he is just innocently keeping himself entertained by playing in the dirt. The smirk on Cameron's face, however, maintains Brad's consideration. Brad stops mid-sentence when he sees Cameron look up from his stones and begins to talk. Cameron looks as if he's having a conversation with someone right in front of him, but Brad can't see anyone there. The boys separate as Brad walks through the crowd towards Cameron. "Cameron!" yells Brad. Cameron looks up, nervous to hear the tone in Brad's voice. It is a tone he rarely ever heard, and he's confused why he's being so strong with his words. Yeah, Cameron stutters as he scrambles to his feet. "Who are you talking to?" questions Brad forcefully. Before Cameron could answer, the unseen boys walk through the cave walls and stand together. Brad feels their presence, and when he looks, he sees them standing close to the entrance in rear guard formation. Joe returns from tending to Nathan and stands at Brad's side. Joe isn't sure what has happened since he was gone, but for Brad to interrupt a fireside, it had to have been serious. He knows that, to be helpful, he only has to make himself available to Brad. End of chapter 35.